Happy Monday. I'm not sure where you're joining me from. A little bit of a special live today. I had the privilege on Saturday of joining Dr. Terry Wahls and a very established group of speakers as an informational event. And there's another one coming up in November on the 17th and 18th. Dr. Terry Wahls is a partner of Lifepro. She has an absolutely astoundingly fantastic story about her own health struggles. She deals with progressive MS. She happens to also be an MD and researcher at the University of Iowa. So she is a very credible source of information if you are dealing with MS or other neurological conditions. This weekend, I had the pleasure of speaking in regards specifically, just to tell you a little bit about her protocol. And I'm going to have Lauren drop a couple of links if you want to dig into this a little bit further. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but her link to her main site, Dr. Terry Wahls.com, and how she beat progressive MS using paleo principles and functional medicine. And you know, a lot when I talk about my vibration machines, I'm always talking about functional fitness, functional exercises. She takes a very integrative approach to healing chronic autoimmune conditions. She is a doctor, researcher, and suffers herself, as I said. She's got TED Talks. She's just a big sensation on the internet, and she has what's called the Wahls protocol. We encourage you to check it out. Dr. Wahls uses a Lifepro vibration plate and other Lifepro tools as part of her self-care. You can see her on Facebook, and we've shared a few on the Lifepro page of her in action. So for those of you that were able to join us this weekend, I thank you for doing so. You can purchase a recording of the event, and you can message through their site if you'd like to see a copy of that. As I said, there's another one coming up more related to anti-aging. The one I spoke just recently this past weekend was more about neuro function, neuroimmunity, but there was a big anti-aging theme. Sometimes, as I say with vibration plates, you know, you're getting multiple benefits, and sometimes the reason that you're primarily using the plate you know, is what drives your purchasing decision or your motivation to get using it. But very often throughout the course of using your plate, you realize you can do other things and you're getting other benefits with it. So, are you kidding? Hello again. Ever so sorry. I'm not sure how much of that you caught. I was rambling. Lauren, I hope that was I missing for a long period of time there or just for a moment? I was rambling, reading information on another page, and I realized, okay, so you didn't lose me for too long. Just to be certain, I was referring to an event that I attended on the weekend. I had the privilege of being a part of Dr. Terry Wahls' protocol presentation this past weekend, and there is another one coming up on the 17th of November. I'll get Lauren to post two links for me. And what I'm going to do today is I want to get into some of the functional stuff we talked about on the call and give you a few example exercises if you are dealing with MS, if you are dealing with declining health. You know, there's a lot of reasons that mobility, balance, range of motion, these types of things degress, and it's not always due to a medical condition. Sometimes we're just inactive, or it's a busy lifestyle where we're sitting at a desk all day. So sometimes we wake up one day and go, wait a minute, how did I get into this body? I didn't used to have this body. So I want to go over a few things that are very functional as far as getting used to using your vibration plate in regaining function. And you know, I turned 50 a couple of weekends ago. So anti-aging is very much on the forefront of my brain. And any of the exercises I'm doing today for the post 40-50 crowd like myself, even though they may be related to a baseline of getting started on the machines, Any time you spend on your vibration plate, you're contributing to promoting better longevity. How are you doing that? Weight bearing exercise improves bone strength, it improves muscle strength, it improves your cardiovascular system. So if you are unable to bear weight, we are going to start with some modified exercises today. If you're going to join me for what I'm going through today, I ask you to have a stool available with your plate if you are dealing with poor mobility. I'm going to have Lauren, if she hasn't already, just drop a couple of links. So drterrywalls.com is where you can find out more information about next month's seminar. And the other link is going to be a direct link to her book, her protocol, if you're interested in purchasing that and looking at how she's been successful. I do encourage you, if you are on her page, to read her story, understand her journey. I think a lot of you will relate to the struggles that she has dealt with and the hurdles that she has overcome. So there's something for everyone. You don't necessarily need to be dealing with MS. Again, I'm going to take the labels out of today's session, and I'm going to talk more about symptoms. Symptoms can be very universal. Poor mobility and lack of strength, lack of energy is a universal symptom for many different types of conditions. So, but specifically to Dr. Wahls, thank you again for allowing us to be a part of your event this weekend. She does use a vibration plate regularly, and she had a couple of questions for me at the end, which I was very pleased. There's nothing more gratifying than be able to contribute to someone else's experience and improve it. So I'm going to leave some time at the end of today, as I always do, for questions and answers. If what I'm doing today relates to you and you have some specific questions, maybe you've been fearful and your machine is still sitting in the box. I know some of you that may be the case. So no fear today. I'm here to give you motivation and maybe dispel a few fears along the way. So I've got a couple of things set up here today, 2 different vibration machines. This is a new one I'm kind of loving that Lifepro came out with. You can only get this one on Amazon. But for those of you, the number one question I must get about balance is, should I get something with a handle? Should I not get something with a handle? So I've got 2 plates here today. I'm working on my usual fave, which is my Rumblex Plus. It does not have a handle. This little model is $99 on Amazon only. You know, is it for everyone? No. If you're dealing with a lighter weight capacity, if you're just using it for seated or modified exercises, this is a very basic, very light plate, but it does have an attachable handle. So for those of you that are using this for pediatric, for those of you that are under, I think it's got a weight capacity of 265, so still fairly generous. This handle, you know, it's not something I would hang on to dear life for, but what I wanted to demonstrate, the handle detaches, and one of the first thing that happens when you start using your plate is your balance is going to improve. It is the quickest thing you can obtain as far as a benefit in using your plate. And very often, if you've taken the time and energy to assemble after purchasing a machine that has handles, sometimes my clients regret buying a machine with handles because you improve to the point so quickly that you often do not need handles. If you are finding standing on the plate is still fatiguing, poor mobility, balance, yes, absolutely, I do recommend having something to hang on to. So what I did on the weekend is I put the little one in front of it just so I could show you something to hang on to, but I'm still working on my Rumblex Plus. So today we're going to start with our feet just hip width apart. I always speak functional. This weekend was all about functional. And, you know, it's about functionally improving your situation. So one of the biggest exercises, I've covered this in many lives, but many of you, if you are dealing with poor mobility, you're in a recovery situation, is the sit to stand. So I just wanted to review that today. I'm actually going to take this off so you can see my legs. And what the sit to stand is it's an exercise where you basically practice getting up out of your chair all day. And that might seem to you that like it's not an exercise, but if you're having to use your arms and pulleys to get yourself up, you need to be working on leg strength. And this is one of the most functional, kind of all-in-one exercises you can start with to not only modify, you know, the need to reduce the amount of time maybe you're spent standing because you do fatigue easily or the mobility is not there. but it's going to get that basic function of getting up out of your chair to go to the bathroom, or getting up out of your car to go into the store, much easier, and give your kind of the foundation of your body, the legs, the strength they need to perform your daily tasks. So what a sit to stand is we're simply sitting on a stool. I want you at least a 90-degree or slightly higher. I do not want your hips sitting lower than your knees. You're lifting more weight than you need to. And what we're going to do essentially, if you need something to hang on to, you maybe want to practice this at the edge of an island or on the back of a couch, or put a bar stool, something with handles if you need to hang on to. And ideally, you're using as much of your legs to physically stand up on the platform. Once you are standing on the platform, I always want those knees undone. Do not lock your legs. The taller you stand, the more you're going to feel it go up to your head. It's not harmful to lock the legs. Long term, they probably would be a little bit sore, but you want to make sure that the natural shock absorbers, your muscles, your hips, your legs are absorbing the movement, not the skeletal structure. So if you're feeling it too much in the head, you're standing a little taller than maybe you need to. So bend the knees enough so you're not feeling it in the head. If it was a struggle to stand up and you're fearful to sit back down, maybe you just stand here for a minute or two. If just standing up was all that you're comfortable doing at this point, instead of trying to sit back down, which is the next progression, I challenge you to try squatting a little bit. Make those legs work, even if it's only for 5-10 seconds. Even if you're maybe only able to go down about an inch. Everybody's got to establish a starting point. And when your legs are fatigued and you can't stand here any further, stand back up. I'd love to see you stand for about a minute or two whenever you are feeling wobbly, whenever you're feeling fatigued, whenever you need some mental clarity. This is just about moving and feeling better. 2 to 3 minutes, anytime you need throughout the day to address those symptoms. For those of you that feel a little bit more stable, the next progression would be sitting back down in that stool. It's not as challenging. It requires more stabilization on the way back down than strength. But what I want you to make sure in this movement, we're going to turn it into 2 moves now. I want you to do very slow, very controlled movements. We want the weight, the movement to be situated on the muscles. I don't want you, pulling yourself up so quickly that the goal is to stand up, but we want to do it in proper form. We're going to keep those shoulders back. We're going to engage that core. Let's try again. We're going to keep those heels planted, and we're going to slowly stand up out of that chair. For those of you that felt comfortable, we're going to sit back down. Okay. Again, we're going to stand back up, weight on the heels, core is engaged. You shouldn't feel like you're falling forward or falling backwards. Make sure that you're in balance, and we're going to sit back down. If you're just starting this and you're finding 2 to 3 reps in, starting to get a little winded, I want to make sure that you're pushing yourself to fatigue, but not to a point where you're, falling off the edge of the machine or the stool. So 3 to 4, 5 reps. If you're just starting out, those legs should feel like they've exercised, but I don't want to deplete you to the point where you're unable to go about the rest of your day, especially if you're dealing with, for those of you that have maybe had heart attacks or strokes and you just don't have the energy and the reserves. Strength training is very, very important, but you can break it into smaller, more digestible pieces throughout the day and build up until you have some endurance and some more stamina, and go with longer exercise periods or programs at that point. So anytime, again, throughout the course of the day that you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling unstable, one of the big things that as we get older, if you're dealing with a diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia, I talked about this in last week's session, is improving our balance. Yes, obviously we want to get our bones stronger, but that's a much more long-term benefit. Weight-bearing exercises, standing and bearing your body's weight, even if it's in something like this where we're breaking up the standing and the sitting, we're going to build strength. Those muscles are pulling on those bones, making them more flexible, denser, and the whole time, without even realizing, you're improving your balance. If your balance is good and that's something you specifically want to target, what I would challenge you to do, just a fun little thing, while you're standing, do not do this while you're sitting and standing. While you're standing on the plate, just close your eyes for about 2 to 3 seconds. You'll notice when you don't have sight to rely on, it's a different equation here. So 2 to 3 seconds, open those eyes back up. Maybe you're going to stand here for a little bit of a period. Maybe you've got other goals like moving lymph, you've got swelling, maybe you've got some tight muscles. And you can break this up into whatever fits into your day, but keep it to a period of about 5 minutes. If the stamina is lacking, the balance is lacking, 5 minutes, a couple, 3 times a day is going to do much better on your energy reserves than killing yourself for 10 minutes in the morning. I know a lot of times I was working with my stepmom last week, and she's recovering from a stroke, and I try to go earlier in the day because her energy levels are better. But a lot of times I notice when you guys are going to therapy, you're doing as much as you can while you're at therapy, but it can be a very exhausting rest of the day. So take some of those principles that you might be doing at therapy, or if there's exercises that you're doing. The sit to stand is probably one you are. Pelvic tilts is another very good one to improve range of motion. Once you feel stable, it's easier to do movements on the platform. But by doing littler, smaller, more digestible pieces throughout the course of the day, you're not depleting your energy throughout the course of the day for the rest of your making lunch and going out with friends. So if you are suffering from fatigue, break what you're doing as far as a program into more smaller sessions throughout the course of the day. And once you start noticing the stamina sticking around, the energy and the mental clarity sticking around, then you can build on durations. One more very simple exercise that I'd like to show you as well, because many of you are dealing with chronic back pain. I love doing this one leaning on a bar stool, on the edge of a counter. My knees are unlocked, but they are fairly straight. What happens here is I'm feeling this in the legs. By straightening up the legs, I'm feeling it in the low back and the hips. And if you are dealing with poor mobility and balance, recovering from something, if you're just trying to build back and become more active, a lot of time the hips and the back take the brunt of our new activities. So this is a nice little exercise. Instead of just standing there, we're still bearing our weight, but by changing the angles of how we're standing into this position, we're getting a little action into the low back and the hips. Ironically, it's also really good if we happen to be constipated, have urinary incontinence. There's a lot of other side benefits to doing these type of exercises. The very last one I want to show you, and it was a question Dr. Wahls raised, and all of you know how to do this if you've seen any of my seated sessions, but many of you that are dealing with poor mobility and improving your situation struggle with getting down and doing more direct applications like massage, sitting on the plate, or perhaps even getting started on some upper body exercises. All of Lifepro's plates, of course, have hand straps. They've got body weights. There's all kinds of ways that you can work upper body while you're on the plate. But from a wellness perspective, maybe you just want to deal with tension, get some lymphatic moving, or as a warm-up or a recovery to other activities or therapies that you might be doing. I like simply keeping it simple, as I always do. So while you're sitting here, perhaps before you get to your sit to stand progressions or your squats, you can take your hands, lock up those elbows, and you'll start feeling a little bit of movement. My preferred way, if ability allows, is to lean over and get those elbows in contact with the knees. If at any time, regardless of what speed or program you are using, you find it's just a little too intense or a little bit too aggressive, you are always in control. I always do my lessons in oscillating, which is the walking movement, that side to side that all of Lifepro's plates offer. But you are always in control of the intensity in this mode. If your feet are in the middle, you're moving less. If your feet are wide, you're moving more. We refer to that as amplitude. And if you've listened to my lectures about starting conservative versus starting slowly, I really do prefer that you start at a mid to higher speed, especially if you're dealing with deficiencies. You're going to have much more effect in a lot of different ways because you are dealing with shorter durations. The slower speeds are more associated to balance and stability, and although that's an overall goal, I don't particularly want to challenge your balance if you've just had a stroke or you're dealing with MS. So stay out of that slow speed and that combination of wide feet. We always think standing wide is giving us more benefit, but we don't always associate it with it contributing to the intensity. And that's really the bigger picture of what feet close or feet further apart means. More impact. So if you look at your plate, you'll notice the close position is walking, the middle is strolling along, and the wide we're running. If you think of yourself walking on a sidewalk versus running, what is the amount of impact that your heel is striking the ground with? The faster you go, the harder your foot is hitting the ground. The harder those steps are creating impact up your body. Just like a machine. If your feet are really wide and you're in that running mode, you're getting the most movement, you're getting the highest impact. So if you're dealing with conditions, bring it into no more than hip width apart and even a little bit closer if you need to make modifications. Enough of my ramblings. I'm going to come back for questions because I know I have an abundance of them. I need to find my spectacles. Okay. So again, if you're just joining me, outside of my technical internet glitch there earlier, again, I'm going to shoot my internet provider. We today are talking about Dr. Terry Wahls' protocol. Lauren has been kind enough to post a couple of links at the beginning. One where you can find out more about her actual protocol. There's a book associated with it, but there's a world of amazing seminars that Terry has offered. I attended one this Saturday, and you can also look forward to another one in mid-November on the 17th and 18th. There's another link to take you to that event if it's something that you're looking at. It is related to anti-aging. As I said, Dr. Wahls we're very proud to partner with her here with Lifepro, and she uses a vibration plate, and she is seeing an improvement in her bone density results. She made a comment this weekend that she's got an upcoming DEXA scan, and both she and I are looking very forward to seeing what the results of that may hold, although I think I might have an idea. So I'm going to get down to the questions portion of today. Next week is going to have more of a Q&A focus. There's lots and lots of workouts, and I tend to ramble because I play in the medical wheelhouse, or there's so many symptoms that you are dealing with. I want you guys to tell me what you want me to talk about. Give me topics, give me ideas. If there's things that we haven't covered, if I need to get into more detail. So let Lifepro know if there's something that you'd like us to discuss in an upcoming Q&A. So who have we got here with us today? Thank you, Lauren, for posting those links. Hello, Rose Davenport. Does this help with visceral fat diatitis? I'm going to have to Google that one. There's very few things that it does not help with. It's not so much will it help with this condition or that condition. Looking this up, this is a dysfunctional metabolism. There are ways to boost a metabolism through exercise. When people ask me if is whole body vibration good for this or is whole body vibration good for that, it's not a matter of whether whole body vibration is good for it or not. The bigger question is being active or getting exercise for it. And what the plate is it's an environment that makes exercises or activity more kind and, to a degree, a little bit less effort and time on your part. So what I would say, Rose, is you're probably struggling with traditional exercise. It's when your metabolism is challenged, and I don't know if you're taking anything for that. It says it pinches around the organs and is associated with a dysfunctional, so visceral fat is, for those of you that don't know, visceral fat, it's very special. It's this fat here that forms differently and norms differently. And Rose, a very interesting side tangent. I had a friend one time that had reconstructive surgery after cancer treatment, and she wasn't the largest of girl, but a portion of that was done with visceral and a portion was done with other fat. She gained a few pounds, and there was a substantial difference in the size of her breasts. I don't know if there's a correlation. I never really got an answer to that question, but visceral fats, never forget where they came from, and it is that abdominal region. But if you've got something medically going on there, I do actually have a group that specializes in fat disorders. What you're dealing with absolutely probably falls into that realm. It's a very different type of fat. It's not traditional fat. And how you exercise and how you become active, you've probably got other, probably Ehlers-Danlos or loose, sometimes hypermobility. Sometimes there's other conditions related to this. So another reason that vibration plates are so forgiving as far as an activity is they're kinder on the joints. They're so amazing at moving lymphatic and boosting circulation. So sometimes when you're dealing with a condition like that, Rose, it's a matter of finding an activity that's suitable to get those types of benefits. And I'm hoping that that's answering more so the question that you might have been asking. So sorry I had to look that one up, but yes, anytime there's a condition, for those of you that may have a question, is it good for cancer? Is it good for diabetes? It's more related to, is activity or being active, and keeping in mind that the machine is just an environment you do activities or wellness things on, because it's a little bit on the easier side. Kim Willis from Illinois. Hello. Facebook user, I'm not sure who you are, but great lesson. I cannot get up without my arms. I really need to work on this. I so know what you're talking about. And a little even if you can just start, even if you can't stand up without holding your hands, I got to show this one. So even if you can't stand up without using your hands, start doing the action. Start getting as much weight into it as you can and take a breath. So maybe you're not able, maybe you need the arms to give you that final push. So try doing as much as you can without the arms, and that be your rep. So you're going to try as much as you can because you're still shifting more body weight. You're getting ready for that action, okay? So something to think about. Try that. And let me know how that makes out, Facebook user. Dolores, hello, long time no see. I'm being sarcastic. Nice to see you again. Thank you for this kind of video. So many want more about this. I'm a big fan of Dr. Terry. I think you made a comment on something I shared as well. And the links are there if you want to look into that. Awesome. You will. Sorry, I see that you will. Oh, we got a stalker. Somebody's looking for a date here. Lauren, I might get you to get rid of sexy XYZ. We're all sexy here, but we're not interested in that type of discussion for today. Dolores, hip is painful when standing and walking. I can sit even cross-legged with no pain. What is going on with the hip issue? I can't say for sure. I don't know if you've got any degeneration going on there. I would certainly want to do some exercises related to that. Have you ever seen my ball trick, Dolores? I've got a larger one out because I've got my smaller one on loan. But while you're doing your standing or your seated exercises, a really good way to get some extra strength in the hip, inner and outer thighs, is by simply adding a ball. You can use your yoga swirl wheel for this too. I prefer that actually because it's about the right size. So just to give you a visual here, put that just above the knees. You see that? Okay. And you don't have to squeeze really hard, but it forces those inner and outer thighs to hold this in place while you're sitting on the stool or while you're standing on the plate. So in Debbie's dream world, it would look like this. So you've got this here and you're standing up. I deal with a lot of hypermobility in both my private groups, and a lot of times we're collapsing in or out. And, we all want to tone that area at the top of the thighs that wears out the jeans first anyways, which is really how I came up with this one. But just put this between the knees, slowly stand up. You may even feel a little bit more stable doing this, and sit back down. For you, Dolores, if you find that painful when you put this in, might be a pinched nerve, might be tight muscles, you might have to give it a try or two and see if you're getting some relief, or if it's making it worse. If it's making it worse, I'm going to think it's more something to do with some inflammation, and you might need to get that checked out. Vibration can be used in inflammation situations, but if there's something more going on there, if this is something that's nagging and persisting, you just want to make sure there's not more going on there. Thank you. This is Veda from Chambersburg. Okay, thank you. I hope my rambling made sense to you there. And Dolores, you said gotcha, but I hope that makes sense. And I'm not sure if you have their ring set, but if you've got a ball around the house, just deflate a little bit of air at it. You don't want it like so taut that as soon as the machine starts going, it's going to like fly out of your legs. So you want to have a little bit of give. If you don't have that, or you're itty bitty, or if you've got a lot of mass between the thighs, you can even just roll up a towel and put that just above the knees. It's just something to sort of force you to hold it in place, and just have your feet in alignment with the knees. So you don't want your knees coming in to hold a towel and your feet going wide. Be in alignment. And let me know how that works out for you, Dolores. It's a really, there's so many little things that when I do them on camera, people, oh, I had no idea. I could do that for hours. And I don't expect you to remember everything all the time. And sometimes your needs change. This week your hip's bugging you. Maybe next week it's your shoulder. The more you use your plate and experiment with some of the things that I'm showing you, the more likely you're going to retain them when you do have issues in those areas. So how do we get overall success in any of these areas? Just like Dr. Wahls said on the weekend, just like I say in all my sessions, consistent, regular use is going to help you form good habits in the long run. And something I'm going to leave you with that really resonated with me from the discussion this weekend was something that someone raised prior, and Dr. Wahls was addressing, and she basically said, it's something new. If exercise and going to the gym was something that you all love to do, you wouldn't be seeking alternatives. So look at a vibration plate as something that's going to make, whether it's getting to activities that you would like to return to, or you just want to start living a better lifestyle, it's more possible for more bodies to use vibration plates than many traditional activities. They're kinder, they take less time, and there's just a lot more benefit being created in this environment than if you were doing exercises on the floor. And if you don't feel like working out today, please don't beat yourself up. There's nothing I hate more than someone being down and lowering their vibration. Oh, I didn't do my workout today. Oh, I didn't do my stretches today. You don't have to beat yourself up. Do a little bit. As I suggested, a couple, 3 sessions, 3 to 5 minutes. And once you start moving and feeling better, maybe that's all that you do, but you're still 10,000 miles away than sitting on the couch and having the pity party because you didn't want to do the work. So don't look at it as work. You're just moving. You're just going to get moving. You're just going to start feeling better. And, even if you just have a few minutes on the plate, it's going to keep those benefits you've worked hard at therapy or at home, there. Keep the bones building, keep the strength going. Don't digress, but don't beat yourself up if you're not killing yourself every day. Hello, Polly. I broke my left knee in 15 places 29 years ago. When you do something, you do it right, girl. I need all 4 joints replaced. My right hip is greatly deteriorated. It's almost 2 inches shorter. I'm getting weaker and not walking because it's so painful. I use my plate, but I worry about wearing my joints more quickly. Absolutely not. No, 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 no. Take the tips that I gave you. The biggest mistake people make, I've never seen joints wear. I've never seen anything but improvement. But, just like doing exercise, you can do things that maybe are too much for you. You don't want to overdo it and have a setback or fearful. So make sure the feet are not wide. And if you're dealing with a 2-inch difference, I normally am a big fan of bare feet or socks. You never see shoes on my feet unless I forget to take them off. But Polly, you're probably wearing a lift in the one foot. And if we're talking functional, I don't know how long. Sometimes when you're dealing with misaligned hip, obviously my goal is to get those hips, aligned. But if what's used to you is a 2-inch deficiency, you're going to have to decide what feels more comfortable. So if you're doing exercises on the floor now and your therapist is, because you should be doing exercises, your therapist that's getting you ready for surgery should give you pre-work exercises. And whatever those exercises are, if you're doing them on the floor barefoot, use the machine barefoot. If you're doing them with your shoes with the lift, use your shoes on the machine with your lift. I want to mimic whatever functional training's been outlined by your trainer. I'm not here to replace your trainer. If you're not working with a trainer, these are just a few things to keep in mind. So if from a wellness perspective and you're just sitting on the stool, that's fine. But if you're doing standing exercises, the goal is to get you as strong as we can before you get in under the knife. And it's also going to help expedite your recovery. What I can say is a lot of therapists and a lot of patients will reach out to me because they want to use a vibration machine for recovery. My job is so much easier if you know what the heck it is before you had the surgery. So if you want to use a vibration plate right after you've had surgery, you've just had surgery and you don't have a clue about the machine. So that it's kind of a double whammy as far as what I can show you. Whereas if you've used a machine prior to surgery, at least you know what it's all about. You know how it feels. You get itchy. There's all these newbie things that you go through so that post surgery, you're not going through all of that on top of it. What is happening? My feet are itching. My knee is itching. You're going through a recovery situation. So you're going to enjoy the recovery and get much more benefit out of it if you are used to what it feels like before you go under the knife. Just my tip, and you're going to get some benefit. I do a lot of pre-surgery. Would love to have you as a personal trainer. Join me once a week on Lifepro's page. That's what I'm here for. I do offer training. I'm very specialized in the vibration plates and have been forever. But a lot of the stuff I'm teaching you is basic stuff that personal trainers know everywhere. What I specialize in is translating it to this new, more effective environment. So if any of you are out there shying away from training prior to surgery, you've got the perfect machine to get you ready for surgery. But you might need for surgery. You might need to modify some of those exercises, weight bearing combination of, if you are dealing with a well below baseline body, which you probably are, or you wouldn't be having surgery. I do offer personal sessions for vibration training. So if anyone is looking for some personal guidance specific to yourself or your goals on a vibration plate, message me and I can send you details on that. But today was about Dr. Wahls, and I think many of you can sort of associate. Maybe you're not dealing with MS or a chronic condition like she is, but a lot of the symptoms and the struggles that she has gone through, many of you can relate to, whether it's conditions you're dealing with or someone you're helping care for. So if you have any questions that I did not address today, or you're watching this after the fact and you have questions for me, please tag me, Debbie with a Y, on Lifepro's page here. And I always do my best to get back to answer those questions. Sometimes though, if there's a lot of activity or a lot of comments on the page and you don't tag me, I don't always see it because I get lots of notifications in a day. So make sure you tag me or reach out to me directly through Lifepro. As I said, next week we are starting with much more of a Q&A overview, and I want to invite questions because you are all so unique. You're all using different gear, and I thought next week I'm going to start with the biggest topic. Well, the second biggest topic. I'm going to leave weight loss and cellulite for another day. But next week, I'm going to talk about back pain, my ways to fix it, depending on your back. Sometimes it's a chronic condition. Sometimes it's something that just happens once in a while. But I want to give you guys a healthy amount of time to ask me questions for your specific needs or your back conditions. So next week, it's going to be about Deb's back hacks. I'm going to give you 3 of my favorite things to do on a machine to fix your back. And, a lot of my back issues are my guys and my hubbies. So invite them to join us for this one. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday next week, 5:30 Eastern time, here on Lifepro's page. If you are not aware of when these events are, please subscribe to them. You will get notified, and just make sure on the events that you attend, mark as attending or interested or going. And then once you've done that, you'll actually get reminders. Debbie's going live in 30 minutes. Roseanne, Amber, you'll get notifications on those lives because sometimes you get busy and you forget. So make sure that you tune in, subscribe to Lifepro's main page, and make sure that you sign up for their events to make sure that you get all of the notifications. Lifepro and Dr. Wahls have been such a blessing to my husband with MS. Thank you, Debbie, for you're a blessing. Oh, I'm so glad that you're following her, and I'm so glad that he's seen some success. If you're not using a vibration plate now, a lot of times with MS, there is a fear, but it's such a wonderful treatment. And I'm going to say the word treatment. It's not always a workout. There's so many symptoms, and especially if you're dealing with progressive MS, you have good days, you have bad days, you have completely different days. So it's really easy to change gears and use your plate not only as a wellness and a self-care tool, but for the strength and the bone density and some of those longer term things we know that you've still got on the forefront of the brain. Polly, thank you, Debbie, as always. So much good info. I'm going to stop rambling. I need to get to Baton. My daughter does Baton on Mondays nights. So thank you for joining me. Join me next week. Share with your friends. It's all about back at it next week. We're going to fix your back, and I'm going to invite a whole bunch of questions and show you my top 3 moves. Thank you for joining me. Don't work too hard. Have a great rest of your week.